Geeks, nerds, gamers, and trolls, this is your MMOBomb.com first look at the Culling Origins, because the Culling 2 did not work out so well for Xavient Games, so they've gone back to their original game. The Culling is now free to play on Steam. We're going to jump in and take a first look, see what the game looks like, sounds like, plays like, help you decide if it's a game you might like to try. Now, the original Culling game is what a lot of people refer to as the OG Battle Royale. It was out before Battle Royale became what it is today. So we're going to step back in time a little bit. They have updated the game, brought in some new features, brought little things up to date, but they're also making a point to go back to basics, go back to day one, back to the point where the most people were enjoying the Culling with the release of the Culling Origins free-to-play version. So there's a little bit of new, a little bit of old. It's running on Unreal Engine 4. So far, the game has ran really well on my system, at least. I was playing with a friend. We were playing duos for the majority of my playtime. There is solo and duo available, as well as custom games, but we were playing duos for most of the time that we played. I didn't have any complaints as far as the game running. It seemed to be optimized well enough. Didn't notice any drastic frame rate drops, any sort of crashes, anything like that. And the guy I was playing with a little lesser of a system, also didn't have any complaints as far as optimization was concerned. So it seems to be running well at the moment, which is good for a game that's been in the beta phases since like early 2016. It's been in release since sometime in 2017. So now it's free to play. It's a good thing it's running well, because that would be a major detraction at this point, this far into its life cycle. Now, the Culling Origins, there's not as many people in a match as there are in some of the other Battle Royales, where it's up to 100 people. I believe we were playing with groups up to like 16 players or something like that. So it's smaller games, intentionally designed that way. There are fewer people playing this game. We'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. But yeah, the map's smaller. There's fewer people on the map. Sometimes you can still go long instances without actually seeing anybody and getting into many fights. But other times, like this game here, we were in a fight within the first couple of minutes. And so I've got various different clips here and there that I'm going to include in the video and show off some of the gameplay. But yeah, pretty typical Battle Royale. You go in, you try to collect items to improve yourself, get better weapons and gear and upgrades along the way. So that way you can take out your opponents as the game goes on. Everybody's going to be more powered up. There's also crafting in this game. We'll take a little bit of a deeper look at the crafting here in just a minute. It's not too incredibly deep, but it does exist. It's at least a way to get you started in a match. So you can, if you're not finding good drops initially, you can at least go out and craft a few items to help you get started until you get some of those items that you're going to need later on from some of the drops. Now, it is a very limited inventory system. When you start the game, I believe there were just 3 slots available in your inventory, so you can carry up to 3 items. You can equip a perk, which is a customization you can do out in the lobby. There are all types of different perks for defense, offense, inventory, all types of different perks that you can use to kind of customize the way you want to play. So I picked up an inventory perk that lets me start with a backpack that gives me all 5 inventory slots from the beginning, but that's still 5 inventory slots. So that's it. That's all you've got. So you got to utilize that space efficiently with the best items that you're going to be able to utilize at the moment. Now, the good news is there is a sort of an in-game currency system in the game called Funk. And you're going to acquire that currency by finding items around the map that will just give you Funk just by interacting with them. And also you can go to certain vending machines and recycle items that you have found out of your inventory and get Funk back for those. And you can use that currency for crafting and opening crates. You have to have some currency to open most of the crates. Green crates you can open for free, but like blue crates are going to cost you like 50 of this Funk currency. And also crafting is going to cost you this Funk currency as well. So if you're going to build yourself some body armor or a bow or something like that, you're going to have to spend a little bit of time and have the right resources, but also have some of this Funk currency available as well.
I am not sure what killed them.
The Culling Origins is making a little bit of a comeback since it went free to play. Looking back at Steam charts, in August, peak players were 22. When the game was pay to play. The month before that, 121, and there's like 40, 44, 24. So yeah, there weren't a lot of people playing this game. When it went free to play on September 14th, it looked like it peaked out within a day or two of about 1,400 players. In the past couple of days, I mean, the trend is definitely going downhill. Peak players in the past couple of days have been around the 660 mark. So it's starting to trend downhill a little bit, but there are updates coming out. There's an update. I'm recording on September 20th. There's an update coming out on September 21st that's addressing some melee combat issues, sort of the shove mechanic, decreasing the range on that. Because right now you can shove players when they're blocking from further than you can actually melee attack. So they're increasing the animation time of that and decreasing the distance you can shove players. And we'll talk about some of the melee mechanics here in just a second. But there are patches coming out. They are reinvested into developing this game and bringing it up to something more standard for 2018, not 2016. So, yeah, they peaked back out when they went free to play. The trend is going down at the moment, but they are cranking up some updates to try to counteract that a little bit. Now, touching back on the combat, there's melee and ranged combat available. You'll find different items, different weapons. There's bows and crossbows and a few pistols and rifles, and then different melee weapons like hammers and axes. And the melee weapons specifically do something a little different depending on what you've got. Like axes can cause a bleed and weaken your opponent. Your hammers can cripple your opponent, decreasing their move speed if you need to chase them down. You can also throw any melee weapon you have at your opponent. So if you've got a hammer and they're running away, you've crippled them so they're a little slower, but they're still a little ahead of you. Just chuck the hammer at the back of their head by pushing the middle mouse button. You're going to hit them with the cripple again, as well as the damage, the throwing damage that the hammer does. So there's different options no matter what kind of combat you're in. You've got your typical weapons like bows and crossbows and rifles. The ranged combat, to me, hasn't felt super fantastic so far. It's not just horrible, but it's not good either. There's a little bit of screen shake when you're moving, not even when you're running, just when you're moving. It's not like horrible screen shake like as someone who's prone to motion sickness. It doesn't even bother me that bad, but it's just enough to kind of throw off some of the ranged combat if you're trying to move and run somebody down. So ranged combat not great, but it can be effective. It can do a lot of damage, especially if you're throwing spears at people. I've had people chuck spears at me and absolutely decimate me when I'm trying to shoot them with a bow. So different options. Just because it's ranged combat, maybe you don't necessarily need a ranged weapon. Just chuck a couple of spears at them. Fun fact, if you chuck a spear at somebody, and I learned this the hard way by getting my butt kicked. The guy threw the spear at me. I didn't think about it. And he hit me with it, and then he walked over to me, and I was like, okay, we're fixing the melee combat. I've got a good melee weapon. Let's go. He picked the spear back up, crippled me, walked a distance away from me, and threw the spear at me again. And at that point, I'm half health, and I'm dying, and I'm like, crap. So I start running away, and he's just throwing the spear at me, hitting me with it, running up, picking it back up, throwing it at me again. It was pretty nasty, but it was a lesson learned. It was one of my first few games. So, you know, lesson learned. If a dude throws a spear at you, maybe pick it back up and throw it back at him. So let's talk about that melee combat for a second. When you're in melee with someone, you have the ability to throw up a block, which will take away some of the damage they do to you. You see it a lot. A lot of players who've been playing this for a long time are really good at the block shove mechanism. So if you're blocking, or if someone you're fighting against is blocking, you can hit the Q button and you can shove them to kind of stun them out of that block for a second, and then go in with another melee attack or two till they throw another block up. So melee is a lot of blocking and shoving, and then getting some stabs and hits in when you can. Apparently right now shoving is a little bit OP. Like I said a minute ago, you can actually shove a little bit further away than you can actually melee attack from. And the shoving animation is a little shorter than the developers would like. Like I said, there's a patch coming out like the next day that this is being recorded where that's actually specifically being addressed. That's one of the bigger issues being addressed in those patch notes. So they are listening. They are looking at the gameplay right now, listening to what players are saying, and making adjustments going forward. Now, overall, the combat system isn't super fluid, but it does get the job done. So, and, you know, it's been a pretty enjoyable gameplay experience so far in the Culling Origins. So, you know, if you're interested in trying a free-to-play battle royale and you're not playing one now, it's something that you should at least give a try. It does have a development behind it, a development studio that's been doing it for a while. So it's something that we found ourselves enjoying. Of course, the battle royale genre as a whole, it's actually a pretty fun game mode, at least for myself. I enjoy battle royales quite a bit when they're done well. So there's definitely been some jank ones out there, but a good battle royale is fun. It's a very fun PvP mode, and this one, you know, we found ourselves having fun. And at the end of the day, that's all that really matters. The game ran okay. We were having fun playing. We were getting dominated by players who had more experience in the game. So that's something you do need to know going in. There is no kind of matchmaking. You're just going to get matched with players. The first available players are all going to be thrown in together. So you are going to be matched with people who know more about what they're doing, that understand the ins and outs of the crafting system to get themselves started, understand where to go to be most likely to find good items or items that they can trade in to get some of the funk currency to be able to unlock more caches or get drops, which you can spend the funk currency on getting airdrops as well. And just like any other battle royale, that attracts a lot of attention and becomes a point of contention whenever you call in an airdrop. So just know if you call in one of those, it's going to cost a lot of that currency. And when you call it in, other people are probably going to come running. Now, I do want to touch on crafting just a little bit deeper because the limited inventory system makes crafting a little different than what you're used to. You're not just running around collecting tons of materials and then opening your inventory and looking in your backpack and combining items to craft them, because you've only got the 5 inventory slots. You've got to be carrying around the thing that you're going to need and then find another thing that you're going to need and then combine them together. Got some footage in the background of me using an axe to like chop up a bench to get some branches, and you use those branches to make a bandage. And then you combine a bandage with another stick, because you got to hold the bandage in your hand and then pick up another stick, and it's going to craft a satchel. Then you got to hold the satchel in your hand and knock off a piece of a rock off of a side of a mountain or something. Or you can find them laying around occasionally, but most times you're going to need like an axe or a hammer in order to knock those off of something. But yeah, you take the satchel and you combine it with a rock, and all of a sudden you've got yourself a piece of crafted body armor. Now, this stuff that you craft isn't quite as good as the stuff that you find in the drops like we talked about earlier, but it is going to be something that helps you get get If you're not getting lucky on the initial drops, you've at least got the crafting to fall back on in order to get some of those starter items to get you started in the game, to get out there and kill some people and collect the items off of them, or get an airdrop or whatever else you're going to need. Now, like I said, you do have to have the funk currency in order to do this crafting, so you're going to be recycling items as you go, making sure you're doing other things, like I just went and found a funk barrel to get some more currency out of. But crafting is going to be a good way to get you started if you're not having luck with drops. But it is a little bit different because of the limited inventory system. You have to really work within, okay, I still need a weapon on me. I still need something in case I get into a fight. But I've also got to have inventory space for these extra items that I'm going to need in order to craft the thing that I'm going to want. So it's a little bit of give and take there when it comes to crafting. But here, like you can see, I'm making a piece of body armor. Once I equip that piece of body armor, now I've got that open inventory slot back. So I can go out and start deciding, do I want to try to craft a spear? You can turn a knife into a spear. You can turn a spear into a bow. Once you've got a bow, if you interact with sticks with a bow in your hand, you'll make more ammo for the bow. So there is definitely crafting systems. You can make different ammunitions for different weapons, guns. You can craft bullets with the right items. You got to be standing around explosive barrels to do that. So there is a crafting system. It is utilized within the game, and it can be very useful. The downside is the game doesn't explain the crafting system at all in the tutorial. It shows you how to make a basic knife by combining 2 rocks. You pick up a rock, interact with a rock, boom, you got a stone knife. That's as far as it goes in the tutorial. As a matter of fact, the tutorial, when it explains shoving in the melee combat that we talked about, doesn't even tell you which button to push. It's just like, hey, shove this guy to practice doing it. And then you're like, okay, well, which button am I supposed to push? And then you just start pushing buttons till you find the right button. So the tutorial isn't great. If you're going to want to play this game and really get a little deeper into it, you're going to have to Google some stuff and look up some guides. I kept a wiki page open on the side screen whenever I started realizing that I could really make use of the crafting more than I was. That way I could look and see, okay, I need this item and this item to combine into this item, because the game, it's just not intuitive. Now, once you're holding that item in your hand and you've got another piece of crafting item on the ground and you hover over it, it'll tell you what you're about to craft. But until you get that far, if you don't know where to start with crafting, you're going to have to look something up, because the game just doesn't do a great job of letting you know that it really exists and that it's going to be that useful, or how to do it and really make much out of it. So with all the gameplay out of the way, I guess it's time we talk a little bit about how free-to-play is free-to-play. Is there any pay-to-win? Well, the good news is everything in the game so far has been cosmetic-based as far as purchases. Now, as you can see, there are loot crates in the game. You get loot crates when you level up. You're going to get random cosmetic items out of those loot crates. You can also, of course, purchase loot crates with real-world currency. You can purchase a cash shop currency called tokens. They're about a penny a piece, so like $5 gets you like 500 tokens. And then you get bonuses. If you buy more, you get a few extra bonus tokens. And then there's also an in-game currency, and I don't know what it's actually called. It's the little C symbol up in the top right-hand corner there. And you get that occasionally from crates, or if you get duplicate items, that's what gives you that in-game currency. And you can use that as well to go in and unlock specific cosmetic items that you want. There is a sort of Founders Pack available on Steam right now. And let's see, looks like the original Gangster Founders Pack is $24.99. And then there's another little DLC starter pack that's another $9.99. And they give you cosmetic items as well as some loot crates that you can open when you purchase those starter items. So far, all cosmetic. Haven't seen anything pay to win, any sort of advantage of any sort in the cash shop. Just the typical cosmetic stuff. But there is cosmetic stuff locked behind loot boxes that can be purchased. So just know that going in. As we talked about earlier, you've also got a little bit of customization as far as your gameplay style. When you're out in the lobby, you can go in and change your perks, which is going to give you different benefits in the game, such as the extra inventory slots that I unlocked. You can be better at using blades. You can be better at using ranged weapons. You can make yourself tougher. You can make yourself more resistant to certain types of damage. So there's all sorts of different ways you can sort of change the way you want to play. I haven't seen any of that locked behind any sort of progression or a currency system. So far, it just seems like there's several different ones. There's all kinds of them in the game, so you can really customize and play the way you want. And they're all just available from level 1. I could go in and set my perks. You can have up to 3 available, and I could just go in and see what all there was and choose which ones I wanted to play with. I've tried several different ones out. I don't know at this point what's considered the meta build or whatever, but we were trying out several different ones just to see what different ones would do. I like the 10% move speed myself. Definitely is the one I kept pretty much at all times just for a little extra speed boost. But yeah, you can go in from level 1, customize your gameplay experience. Just know as far as the way your character looks, you're going to be naked and bald at the beginning until you start leveling up, getting some loot crates, buying some loot crates, however you want to do it. Even the hairstyles are locked behind the cosmetic system. So you're going to need to at least unlock some of the free in-game currency you get just by leveling up and getting some duplicates and stuff like that, and get RNG hairstyles and stuff like that. Until then, bald and naked. That's how it's going to be rolling. All right, I've rambled on long enough. Let's wrap this thing up. The Culling Origins is worth checking out if you enjoy Battle Royale and are looking for one that you can play for free now. They used to be pay to play, now absolutely free to play on Steam. The Culling Origins from Xavient Games. Yeah, the Culling 2, like we said, it wasn't a big popular decision. Players who had spent money on the Culling felt like they were being abandoned, so Xavient Games is coming back to the game. And now it's free to play. Player base has gone up. It seems to be trending down at the moment, but we'll see. Like with the updates, like the next one they've got planned seems to address some issues. So we'll see if the player base continues to trend down or if they're able to pick up some more players. So overall, I'm going to go ahead and just give it a thumbs up as far as there are other Battle Royales that, I probably enjoy more. But at the end of the day, for a free Battle Royale game, this one was a lot of fun, and it's something that I wouldn't be opposed to playing again in the future. As always, don't forget to head over to MMOBomb.com for all the latest free-to-play gaming news and information. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel here on YouTube. I've been the Noob Fridge, Troy Blackburn. You can follow me over on youtube.com/NoobFridge. For now, we're going to call the first look for the Culling Origins done. Battle Royale goodness free to play. I'm out.